I did not expect one screenshot to break every attendance number tennis has ever published about Alex Eala. A fan posted it during the 2026 US Open presale. Over 430,000 people in the queue. Not for the tournament, for one session, one match, one night on one court. 19 people fighting for every single seat before a single ticket sold. And that number is not even the part that matters most. Because once you understand what it's actually measuring, you realize every attendance record tied to her name, Melbourne, Auckland, New York, was never measuring her fans at all. It was measuring the size of the door they were let through. Here's what nobody in tennis media has said out loud yet. Alex Eala has never had a real attendance number. Not one. Every figure attached to her name is a capacity limit wearing the costume of a crowd count. And in 9 days, that changes for the first time in her career. Last year, over 1 million people walked through the gates at Flushing Meadows across the US Open's 3 weeks. Every casual fan hears that number and pictures a single massive crowd. That's the wrong picture entirely. The grounds don't fill once. They fill and empty in dozens of separate sessions, day and night, across courts ranging from 200 seats to 23,000. Arthur Ashe holds roughly 23,000. Louis Armstrong, about 14,000. Run 2 sessions a day for 3 weeks, and a handful of individual crowds becomes 1 million admissions. Fans of one specific player don't spread evenly across that million. They concentrate violently into the exact sessions where that player is scheduled, then disappear. So the real question was never, how many of the million are her fans? It's, how many bodies does she personally put into a handful of sessions, and how big are the rooms she's given? This is where it stops being a tennis question and becomes a numbers question. There are roughly 262,000 Filipino Americans in the New York metro area. Over half of New York City's Filipino population is concentrated in Queens, the same borough as the stadium. No flight, no hotel, no vacation day. Just a subway ride on the 7 train. Do the math with me for 1 second. If just 1% of that group shows up to a single session, that's 2,620 people. Already more than some of the side courts she's historically been placed on ever held. At 2%, over 5,000. At 5%, you're near the full capacity of Louis Armstrong Stadium. And 1% participation means 99 out of 100 Filipino New Yorkers stay home. That's not an optimistic assumption. That's close to the floor of the floor. Widen it further. New Jersey, Virginia, Illinois all carry significant Filipino populations within driving range, not flying range. The addressable pool isn't 262,000. It's that number, plus several 100,000 more who just need a reason. A model built on population alone is a guess until it's checked against real behavior. So here's the check. January 2026, Australian Open, first round. Eala was scheduled on court 6, a side court, a few hundred seats, no roof. The kind of court organizers put matches on when they don't expect anyone to show up. The queue to get in stretched back toward Rod Laver Arena, the 15,000-seat main stadium, a 5-minute walk away. Every seat gone. People standing at the courtside bar because there was nowhere else to be. Philippine flags everywhere. She lost the match in 3 sets to a player ranked 99th in the world, and still needed roughly a dozen security guards to get her off the grounds. Melbourne's Filipino community is real, but it's a fraction of New York's, and it required a 13-hour flight for anyone traveling in. Smaller pool, harder travel, a losing first-round match, a side court, and it still overwhelmed the venue. So hold that, because this is the part that rebuilds the entire model. Every Eala crowd number that exists right now isn't measuring her fans. It's measuring the container they were poured into. Think of it like measuring rainfall with a drinking glass. The glass fills in 5 minutes, but that number describes the glass, not the storm. She's ranked world number 20 now. When the draw drops, she's projected to be seeded at a Grand Slam for the first time in her career. Seeding isn't just prestige, it dictates scheduling. Seeded players get the featured courts, the better time slots. She isn't going on court 6 in New York. She's going into Louis Armstrong or Arthur Ashe. The glass just got replaced with a bucket. And it stacks. Mixed doubles on August 25th and 26th, alongside Felix Auger-Aliassime, in a draw featuring Serena Williams, Carlos Alcaraz, Aryna Sabalenka, and Novak Djokovic. The stars of the Open exhibition on the 27th, singles main draw from the 30th. 3 separate ticketed events compressed into 9 days, more chances for one community to convert into bodies in seats than any point in her career. 3 signals, all public, none of them bottlenecked by a doorway. Price: a grounds pass now runs $65 at face value. On resale, that same ticket for opening day has been listed above $360, over 5 times face value. Upper deck Arthur Ashe seats for August 31st were listed around $326, lower sections above $500. Average resale get-in price across the tournament sits roughly 13% higher than last year. The queue, the 430,000-person figure from the top of this video, came from a single fan screenshot during presale, unverified by the USTA, but consistent with the resale spike and the most extreme demand signal circulating this tournament. Free days. The USTA is offering free grounds admission across all 7 days of Fan Week, August 23rd through 29th. That's the most free access in the tournament's history, and the USTA reported $623 in 2024 revenue. Organizations operating at that scale don't open gates for free out of generosity. Free access is customer acquisition, aimed at a crowd they believe hasn't converted into ticket buyers yet. Stack it. The census floor puts New York's addressable Filipino-American population between roughly 2,600 and 13,000 at 1 to 5% conversion. Melbourne demonstrated conversion far above the low end of that range, in a smaller market that required international travel. Layer in the driving radius from New Jersey and Virginia. Layer in her seating, moving her into Armstrong or Ashe. Layer in 3 events, compressing demand into 9 days instead of spreading it across a season. My projection for her biggest single session this tournament, a featured singles match in the second week or a mixed doubles night on Ashe, is between 9,000 and 14,000 people in that building specifically for her. If she reaches the second week on a night session at Arthur Ashe, I think the upper end is conservative. But here's what breaks even that number. Fan Week requires no ticket, just a free pass for anyone 18 and over. Every person who walks in for her mixed doubles matches, her practices, her exhibition on the 27th, never appears in any ticketing data anywhere. They show up, they go home. Statistically, they were never there. And that's not even the biggest gap. New York runs 12 hours behind Manila during this tournament. A primetime night session on Arthur Ashe lands at roughly 8 a.m. the next morning in the Philippines, exactly when people are on jeepneys, opening shops, dropping kids at school. They watch anyway, standing up, on their phones. There are 120 million people in that country, plus millions more across the diaspora. Not one of them shows up in the million admissions. Not one shows up in the $623 million. Not one shows up in any figure anyone will publish about this tournament. If the most valuable part of a player's audience never walks through a gate, the entire system tennis uses to value players is broken, for exactly the kind of player who's going to grow this sport next. If you want the exact session-by-session breakdown the moment her draw position is announced, subscribing is what puts it in your feed first. Her seeding is announced Thursday. Mixed doubles starts August 25th. Fan Week is free if you're anywhere near Queens. The moment the bracket goes public, I'm breaking down exactly which quarter she lands in, which sessions get the loudest, and where this crowd starts changing outcomes on court. Drop where you're watching from in the comments, city, country, and what time it is on your clock when she plays, because if this sport isn't going to count you yet, I want to.